Hey now, there we go. Shows live. There's that. Some people popping in. Now I wish I could fix the name on my Instagram feed, although I don't think it matters because it's so small you can't even see what the title of the stream might even be.
Right.
Hence the need for graphics. So, hi, Instagram people. If you're confused by the title of today's stream, so am I. I don't know how to remedy it. I'm obviously going to be going through this afternoon the Trump speech, parts of it again. I don't think anybody needs to see it again. And if they saw any of it, they've seen all of it. It was a mess. But I will say that I am not tired of being right at all. I'm not bored with being right the way Trump was with his own son's speech at all. I am not nodding off during my own being right about everything, for the record. Especially when it comes to the Morning Joe mea culpa this morning. I don't know if you saw any of that. Woof.
We're kind of just in this weird place right now.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. Well, we can discuss it on the air because I think this is part of it. A worthwhile discussion. Also, Melania's AI statement, which I stand by, was absolutely AI because it looks like it looks like Gen 2 AI from last spring. You know.
We can make a Melania chat GPT.
Oh yeah, we should bring Pi in and go, hey, say a bunch of gibberish about how you support me. Never have I wanted more in this moment the feeling of good on a person that feels in my heart a good thing, where not things that are good are bad. Thanks very much.
Let's take AI. Statements from Michelle Obama and Jill Biden.
That's right.
Add those and then make a Melania statement.
Trained entirely on Jill Biden and Michelle Obama speeches, but with a Hungarian phrase book sketch from Monty Python thrown in,
and make it dumber.
Right. My hovercraft is full of eels. Drop your pants, Sir William. I cannot wait till lunchtime. Alright. My nipples explode with delight. Right, we're almost there. And, oh crap, I have to change the titles on this. I beg your pardon. I'll do that in one moment. I'm just going to jump straight in. Hi, chat room. Welcome to the show. And right again... You're welcome. It's such good stuff. Now, I have a guest on today, and it's not the major. He was on the day before yesterday, so I'm going to swap this out real quick. Where's his? That's his. There it is. There it goes. And we'll throw in this one. There we go. And then I'll fix the news thing as well so that I can do both. Let me turn that on and turn this one off. Where is it? Okay, yeah, that's the one. Okay, turn that off. There you go. Excellent. And then all I need is your address over there in Guest World, and I will throw it in here, and we're almost there, and it's very exciting. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Friday Eye. So much to talk about. And then first hour, our dear friend Rob Glenn is here, who is, by the way, deserving. Here you go, 3, 2, 1. There he is. Hey, I'll move you around. Don't worry. Just yeah. I always have to squeeze. Tara sits so far back from her camera. I'll do it. Don't hold still. I'll do it over here. Let me. Quit it. You're monkeying with my system. There we go. That's much better. So.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, there he is. So, first of all, big round of applause for Rob Glenn for all the help he's been doing for all of our Houseparks Megaworldwide adjacent performers who, he's been helping Boston Brian. Texas Paul is next on the list, and I think we're even going to help Cliff Schechter. Perhaps, I don't know if you could just help him zoom in his camera so it doesn't feel like we're all watching him sit at his desk like the dude who wrote Ally McBeal.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've come to learn that this is my way to help independent media. So
It's-
whatever I can do, I'm going to do.
It's spectacular and very needed. Now, obviously, I'm going to talk about, in hour two. Stick around, guys. We will absolutely be discussing last night's Trump blather, where I said a couple weeks ago when I think it was related to something. I think I said it months ago, but it really came to a fore about the debate. Was never underestimate the ability of Donald Trump to fuck up a free lunch. Just never. Always know that if life hands him lemonade, he will eliminate all the sugar, drain most of the water, and make lemon rinds in a giant rotting pile. Like that's what he will do. It's what his dad handed him, a functioning real estate empire, and he turned it into a Russian-backed branding industry. That, you understand? Everything. He bankrupted a casino. I'm telling you, that's how it works. So I brought that up a bunch, and everybody's like, I don't know, but what if? And I'm like, work with me on this. And man, Shevitz, last night proved me so wrong, so right, while everyone else was so wrong, because his message of unity, if he had I wrote this morning, but if all he did was come up and tell the apocryphal story with the pictures up there, making up this thing about there was blood everywhere and all over my hand, and telling this bullshit story, they saw blood on my hand, which nobody did, and just making it up, just rewriting history. If he'd have just told that bullshit story, even with all the lies in it, and pointed at that guy's jacket and hat, and said, poor him, and was, had a moment of silence, and then accepted the nom and let the balloons drop, dude could have maybe locked up the race. He could have chased Biden out of the race this weekend, because the dumb Dems that are around him that are trying to drum him out would have gone, nobody's going to beat this. He's basically a martyr, and we watched him crucified, and everybody, all independent voters want a claw hammer right now so they can get him down off the wood, right? That's how it would have gone. I'm dead serious. That's as dumb as it is, and as awful as he is, and as great as Biden is, that's how the public tide of sentiment would have gone had this dumb motherfucker just said that and walked off stage. I don't want to tell, I'm going to tell the story, and then you guys know what I stand for. Read the platform. Thank you. God bless. I'm only here because the Lord saved my life. Fuck the dude in the jacket, because obviously the Lord was over quota with people he was saving that day. And thank you and goodbye. Balloons. Everybody going, oh my God, unity, and he's a changed man, and blah, 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 and the whole thing. He could not have fucked this up worse if he'd have if they'd have accidentally put Hulk Hogan's speech in there. and the tape of Hulk Hogan playing the N-word, and the tape of Hulk Hogan saying that his character has a 10-inch penis, but he himself does not, on the stand in a defamation case or something that he did, because that's been circulating as well. He couldn't have fucked up more if they put that in the teleprompter and he read it out loud, that Hulk Hogan has a small penis, and it was just, again, the fact that he brought out Dana White and there's this video circulating of him slapping his wife across the face. And you're like, oh, okay, this is who these guys are. This is how they're going to be. That's the end.
Yes.
And
he's had numerous opportunities to pivot.
The greatest opportunity to pivot, someone shot at you.
Well, worse than that, COVID. If he would have, back in the COVID days, if he would have basically said, I still say this today, I was wrong. COVID's bigger than I thought it was. It's really dangerous. All Americans, let's get together. I'm going to ship every single one of you an American flag mask. Put the mask on. Let's all save each other.
Yeah.
He'd have wiped everybody. Nobody could have beat him.
I agree.
In the next election.
I agree.
But why didn't he do that?
Right.
Because he's Trump.
Yeah, right.
and that's why. That's why.
Yeah. He'd have to be
a completely different person. He wouldn't be Trump.
Right. And if he's ever a changed man, the very people that support him would go, what happened to the mean dickhead that I liked? Right.
Right. And the same thing is true of Biden. Biden's had all kinds of opportunities to pivot. And what has he done? He's pivoted. He's done, like the State of the Union was an example of everybody was saying, oh, Biden's done. And he comes out in the State of the Union and he showed everybody he wasn't. And the
same thing lately.
The debate was a similar like setup. They set it up, and that's their cadence. The Biden campaign seems to have a cadence. They let everybody shit on him, and then they come out and show that he's not what they all said he was.
Right.
He happened to be sick that day.
Yeah.
But I don't know why it wouldn't happen again. It's going to keep happening because it's been happening his entire career.
Right. Well, that's the thing is that there's a difference between like gaffes, which he did in the past, which is and I got to say, one of the biggest gaffes in his history, and we really will get to some AI stuff today because I actually have something I wanted to show you. But if it's here, yes, it is. I got a device that I wanted to show you, and it's totally stupid. Yeah, beyond even just the phone. That in you know the one of the biggest gaffes they always tack onto Biden is the gay marriage gaffe under Obama. That Obama and them had made a decision. Look, we're for gay marriage, but the public isn't ready for that yet. So what we're going to say is civil unions, and then what we'll have is the public will push us in the direction that we need to go. Because that's a great way to convince people, because the conversation once you bring up civil unions amongst sensible people is, well, then why not call it marriage? Who gives a shit what the word is? It's not that big a deal. And if it's sacred amongst two people, it's sacred amongst two people. And if it's not sacred, I mean, we haven't gotten rid of marriage because Britney Spears has been married 3 times. Who gives a shit? That was the conversation immediately when you call it, for civil unions. And it's what happened. But Biden just came out and said, no, gay people should be allowed to get married. And he's the Catholic. He's the old white guy. He's like checking all these boxes that shouldn't have him be the one that says that. And he just gets out over everybody's skis and says, love is love. What the hell are we even talking about? And everybody was like, shut up! The same thing with protecting Taiwan. Of course we're going to protect Taiwan if China attacks. We have Marines on the beach there. If China attacks Taiwan, there is no way they don't kill Americans right now. Not just people visiting. There's there's tens of thousands of Americans that are there at any given time, right? And so if China attacks, they're going to kill Americans. Lots of them. Not just our military. They're gonna have to kill civilians all over. So of course we're gonna come to their defense. It's also one of the reasons why China's not gonna attack, because they know this. Taiwan is an open, free society. It's real easy for Afghanistan to attack the other half of Afghanistan or something, because if your public doesn't give a rat fuck about anybody else that's there, or it's already your own territory, who cares? But if you're gonna kill a bunch of other people who have a much bigger military and a reason to go, hey, we like our people, then you get in trouble. Ask Russia. Right. So, anyways, I got to say, so just after the last, I knew leading into this that there was not going to be some sort of unity pivot and bullshit anyways. And just to see it play out even worse than I might have even expected. I don't know. Did you see the speech last night? Did you watch it? Yeah.
I can't. Yeah. And many Americans, I believe, just can't stomach the guy.
Right.
So I watched highlights this morning, and which is how most people even consume that stuff, right? So. Right. Yeah. But they're
all weird, like him kissing the
helmet.
I'll
watch it. And I'm sure I'll watch it on your show tonight. You're going to cover it. Or after this, whatever.
Yeah.
I've been gone for 3 weeks now. I think maybe partially the most influential 3 weeks of American history.
Right. Totally. In the last 6 decades. Sure.
Yeah. And I was thinking about how does this tie into some of the AI talk that we do every Friday, had been doing every Friday before I went on vacation, and we had some scheduling stuff. I kind of go back to one of the first reasons why I started listening to your radio program years ago and all those things. And that is that I think that you offer, your show offers, and you offer a way to like think about the world that is not normally out there. And up until maybe, I don't know, maybe the beginning of COVID, or as COVID started and you started doing a weekly show or daily show, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Like, there were very few people out there that sort of had the way you communicate, which is sort of, like you call it stoic optimism.
Yeah.
Just this idea of like, see through the bullshit, like be a strong, well-spoken person, and just like, fuck you. Like, no, what you're seeing is not right. I'm being very serious. And that gives listeners, us, it helps us with the vocabulary for us to use when we talk to our friends who we keep from jumping off the cliff, right? Like, so you keep your listeners you give your listeners vocabulary so that they don't jump off the cliff, and then they go let their family members not jump off the cliff. And that's kind of what our AI talk, the essence of our AI talk is that. Like, you're seeing this thing and everybody's telling you in the news that it's going to be these horrific, great, horrific, whatever they're saying. Mm-hmm. That's what we just experienced over the last 3 weeks, is effectively our news feeds were trying to like create a reality for us. And now is way different than 2016. It's very different. And the reason it's different is because your show exists as well as, I don't know, 50 other ones.
Yes.
Midas Touch, MSN Media, Luke Beasley. It goes on and on. Boston Bryan, so on and so forth. And so now you don't have to believe the news feed. You can like actually go out and listen to somebody else that's not MSNBC, not Fox News. And that's where people are getting their news. Right. So the difference that I see right now, and it's much like what we talk about AI. So you say, well, what happens when you're just deluged with fake stuff? And we keep saying to people, it's not going to harm you. It's actually going to have the opposite effect. It's going to make you not believe anything you see or read or whatever. And then you're going to start asking questions. And that's what I see in my family and I have a very broad group of people that I work with across all political spectrums and everything. And to a T, they're all like, what the fuck? Like, that's what is going on. They're not. And we just had an assassination attempt of a former president. And it's 5-6 days later, and it's not even in the news anymore. Right. It's barely in the news. God. The only reason it's in the news is because the guy's has a fucking thing on his ear, right? Yeah, right. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about it at all. Yeah. And so like,
which is why he has the thing on his ear.
Exactly. So just like I say, AI will be to blame for it, and it'll be the fix. Trump is to blame for this, and he will be the fix because, forget about jump the shark anymore. Right. So we got to like stop using that phrase and just say now. Right. He trumped the shark. Like,
yes. Trumping the shark is such a great phrase. Trump the shark. Come on.
He's talked so much shit, and he's basically ruined. He's poisoned every well that exists. Yeah. Every well. And so now people that I talk to who back in 2016 were like, I don't know about Hillary, because the news was like banging into their head that she had, she was sick. She had the flu. She had Parkinson's. She had emails. Right. Like, now they're like, well, that's bullshit. Like everything I see is bullshit. So, and we've come that far in just 4 years. Right. Because of more media, more people like you, YouTube and Twitch and all that stuff. It basically is a deluge of normal people being out there speaking. at the same time as the abnormal people at the Republican National Convention being fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And they even each other out to the point where people just, I mean, how many of my friends are like, I'm just not going to watch the news for the next 3 months.
Right.
Because I'm done.
Well, that was...
They already know what they're going to do.
Right. The Biden administration and the campaign has been making this case, and I have as well, for the last friggin', month, essentially, that the vast majority of the vote is locked in, and the floating vote in a toss-up is, traditionally it's going to go with the incumbent, and traditionally it's certainly not going to be anti-woman in the elimination of abortion rights. If Roe v. Wade has been the law of the land for a long time, and you had to say that to become a Supreme Court justice, the average voter also knows that it's been law of the land, and the person who changed it and wants to fuck up how things were fine and send women back to Cuba and Mexico and to visit their aunt in upstate New York to get an abortion was a recipe for women dying, and they've seen Dirty Dancing and they know how this story goes. Then the majority of them flip to Biden. They know this, and it's absolutely the case. The vote is, for all practical purposes, locked in, and now it's a manipulation where you're trying to chip away at the security of the other voter. Right now, what we've had since the debate was the insecurities of Democrats chipping away at their own candidate. And it didn't work. It didn't work. All of the polls, every single one, and I dug into a bunch of these things because you'd see the headline and you'd see the secondary one. And this is kind of important to understanding data at a depth that I think people don't bother to look past. And I even I made a joke out of it at the Boston Sexy Liberal, which was like, how many people by round of applause were really nervous and upset when they watched the debate and saw Biden's performance? And everybody clapped. And I said, how many of you are still going to vote for Biden? And the whole place went fucking nuts. And that's exactly how it's playing out everywhere. Nobody is changing their vote. Even all the people are like, he's too old, he's old and oldie old, and he's going to be old, and he's still old, and he's too old. Doesn't matter. Even if he's too old, he's better than the guy who was just kissing that helmet and blathering on about an invasion and poisoning the blood of our country. So it's done. It's done and dusted. Biden's going to win. So
I use your Obamacare-ification.
Yeah,
that's a hard one to say. Not as smooth as Trump the Shark, but to people that I talk to, I try to explain to them, and it usually hits. Obamacare, when it polled, you've said this before. Everything you see right now, that when I look at those stories, I read them and I think, how are they Obamacaring this?
Yes,
and almost every one of them is exactly the same. So, I'm sure everybody knows, but just really quickly, you say 70% of people don't want Obamacare or disagree with Obamacare or whatever it was. Well, 30% of those people were Republicans and they just hate Obama because he's black. Right. And the other 30 or 40%, they're Democrats that wish it would have went more. Yeah. So really, now look at a lot of the polls that you see, you'll see the headline and it'll sound like Biden's behind or Biden's in trouble, but they're quoting approval and disapproval metrics.
Yeah, which has nothing to do with the actual vote turnout, ever.
Right. No president has ever won with this low of an approval rating. Well, no president has ever run against an incumbent who has a lower approval rating.
Right.
So Trump basically fucked up all approval ratings ever. Because he hardly ever went over 40%, and he was the president that still got 81 million votes. Yeah. So forget about that. And by the way, if you Obamacare Biden's approval and disapproval rating, you'll get the same conclusion, and that is that 30% Republicans hate him anyway, and they're never going to like it, and 30% of Democrats wish he did more. Yeah. But those 30% of Democrats are not going to vote for Trump. No, it's stupid. Yeah. But all of these things, if you read a little deeper into the headline, and this is so frustrating, I know, for everybody. It's Kamala Harris gets bad news in polls, and you read the thing, and what it says is Kamala Harris and Biden poll exactly the same against Trump.
Right.
Why is that bad news? She's the vice fucking president.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want two people to like poll equally against your opponent?
Right.
That makes no sense.
Well, and again, to your point, the whole like, 30, you split it's 60-40. 60 people or 60% of people are against something.
30.
Yeah, right. But, and 40% are for it, right? And that's the idea. Well, in the 60%, you have that split of people who wish it went further and people who think it shouldn't exist at all. That means that when the shakedown happens, 70% of people are for it or more, are more on board with the idea than the 30% that aren't. And this is the ice skate uphill that Trump himself has had his entire political career. And why, even during his presidency, he wasn't able to get as much done as he said as he lied about getting done. Because the general public is not for these things. And it's also why Biden, with his supposedly horrible approval rating that he's had since like week 6, he's been able to pass an infrastructure bill. He's been able to pass the first gun legislation we've had, the Chips and Science Act, the rescue package, which nobody said anybody was going to invent, more money or invest more money into, fixing the economy at post-COVID because nobody had an appetite for more stimulus. Remember that shit? Remember it was all over before it started with the rescue package. Like, good Lord. So this is crucial to that narrative thing that you're talking about, which is just brilliant, is that people need to recognize that half of the people that are crapping on something are, in most of these polls, are crapping on it because they want it to go further. And so that arc of history, bending towards justice and that the country becoming more liberal over time because it is in its very nature is played out specifically in that, right? That's what you're seeing. And there's also, and I'm sure you see this as well, there's what I would call the gripe reflex that Americans, because we have the freedom to gripe about stuff, almost are proud of the fact that we can shit on the line at Starbucks and shit on government and shit on our boss and shit on her, because you can't be fired or disappeared for it. So we're almost proud of the fact that I could just be an asshole and get away with it. And, right? I can shit on my own government. Yeah. I hate my government. I'm allowed to say I hate my government all the time.
Yeah.
And
this gets into binary choices, which it seems like everybody's saying like team, like we're on a blue and red team. Blue and red team, that's the same as a binary choice. You get say yes or no. I pick one, I pick two. And in every single case of these larger things that we talk about, there are no choices that are binary. There are no choices that are like that cause something to happen. It's a combination of those things together. So like if you're a blue collar worker on a factory floor and you're making a widget and your job is really hard, or your job, like that's like a difficult task for you. Like it causes you trouble, right? I can't drill that hole, or it's hard to bend that thing. So you're like annoyed by it, right?
You're right. And
then it comes out that the company says, that part, that's the part that caused the car to crash. And that worker's like, I knew it. I've been telling them this whole time that this thing is bad. We should go back and redesign the whole car No, that you can't do that. Like there is no, like back then there was an A-B choice and they chose to go down this road. And then while they were going down that road, there were like 5,000 other A-B choices and they all accumulated to this. So you can't start over. You can't. You have to fix the little thing. You have to tourniquet that, triage it, whatever you do.
Yeah,
like
the constant
you
gardener.
Work on that. Exactly. Yeah. But you can't start over.
Right.
But it's really easy. It's really, really easy. It's human. It's a human condition where you're like, I knew it. I knew it way back then that we should have gone down this other road. And it seems so easy that one choice would have fixed everything.
Right.
But that's a fallacy. That's not true.
Well, that leads into what I've called the stroke of the pen fallacy, which is this. And the ancillary impact that a belief like that has. That if you believe the fix is easy, when it isn't, by the way, but if you believe the fix is easy, you can only draw certain conclusions as to why the person doesn't apply the fix. It is either because they are stupid and they need you to tell them, or they are evil and would rather have the device break and kill people because whatever. So those are the only two ways you can go. If it's an easy fix and the person knows it's an easy fix, then clearly they are evil for not fixing it. This is the entire mechanism of TYT's understanding of
this is coming together. This is coming together in a smaller thing with the roll call thing that's happening right now, where it's like this stack up of events that, like, the Republicans were rat fucking the Democrats in Ohio, and they were trying to screw with them, and so the Democrats made a choice so they wouldn't get rat fucked. And now, like, TYT is out there saying, look, they're trying to steal it from us and all that. It's like, no, look at the whole like thing. And then try to explain that to someone who has no idea what's going on. It's complicated. But it's really easy to say, look, the Democrats are trying to just take this choice from you. No, that's not what happened.
They're trying to steal the choice from you that you already made that TYT never wanted you to make in the first place. Gee whiz.
Yeah.
Right. And
it's crazy.
Yes, that stroke of the pen fallacy, again, is usually when it's applied in indie or second tier media. I wouldn't call TYT indie media any more than I would call InfoWars or The Blaze that. They are clearly just as corporate as anything else. They're just, they might have the size of like a local Fox affiliate or slightly larger with a radio station attached to it, which is the volume of humans that you would have running this thing. But they are by no means somebody like me or Beasley or Boston Brian or something in our house, interpreting stuff genuinely and putting that out. It is a tag team event to sell a narrative, which no one at one particular place, like, again, this goes to the diversity and the binary idea, is that no one space that has 6 or 7 people as hosts is ever going to come down on where they all agree exactly, unless that's an enforced ideology, which is increasingly difficult to do, which is why they've had these weird moments with Anna Kasparian or something like that, where they have to kind of sheepdog her back into behaving. But I think what you and I really see, and I interpret this, when I see the news this way, I always have this kind of like, okay, I can see the herd move, but that does not mean that it's a genuine threat or they're actually moving towards water. It just means the herd is moving. And if you can look at it that way, you can then assess, are they moving towards water or away from a threat? And if it's neither, they thought there was a threat or they thought there was water, which is a lot of it, which, because, again, and then it becomes a groundswell, like threat, and they start selling the threat to each other, and that's how you run off a cliff when you're a lemming, or water, and it drags you out into a desert, which is how that's also happened. I would argue that that's what's going on with the Biden talk right now amongst look at Morning Joe this morning.
Right.
I said yesterday when I was watching the speech, I'm like, tomorrow the like Morning Joe people are going to look and feel like assholes, and they're going to walk back what they've said as delicately as they can while trying to save face. And that was the entire show today. They had Reverend Al Sharpton on going, I'm backing Biden. We're not moving away from this. There's no reason to, because they brought on everybody who says the opposite of what they were saying for a fucking week, and they're trying to patch it up. I could see this. I could see it because it was not based on reality. It was based on the herd. I can see the water and I can see the threat. And I think that's what you're talking about. If you can actually pay attention to a broad enough series of information, they're not moving towards water, and they're not moving away from a threat. And so they're going to correct at some point or fall. And in
the middle of that, what I try to say, or try to just for myself, I try to say, okay, these people that are doing this, they're not my enemies. They're my friends, and they're scared.
Yes.
And they should be scared because this is crazy.
Yeah.
So everybody has to deal with them being scared. They have to deal with their own mortality, their own COVID. COVID did the same thing. They witnessed their own mortality right in front of them, and they all dealt with it in their own way. Right. And they came out the end different. So we have to let them, if Democrats all got on board, they would be Republicans. We're not Republicans.
Right.
We're Democrats, and we all have to come to the conclusion ourselves. And it takes some people a little longer, And when they saw Biden up on stage at the debate, they didn't say, oh my God, Biden sucks. Biden's not the guy. They said, oh my God, the Republicans are going to beat me over the head with this for the next 3 weeks. How do I go to work tomorrow and look at those MAGA people in the eye? They're going to just bash me. They're going to make fun of me. Yeah. They're going to like say I'm a loser. So they're worried about just that sort of thing. And so they have to come through it. And the thing that I want to like tie back into AI, it's coming.
No, I'm with you.
Is that in that landscape, you have a feed, you have a news feed on your phone, you have a Twitter feed, you have all these things. And think of that like the pre-AI. That's not even AI yet. And it's basically feeding you this thing, this narrative. And realize that we're about to go through this thing. It's now 3 weeks later. We had an assassination attempt in the middle of it.
Right.
By the way.
Yeah.
And we're going to come full circle probably in about 4 weeks, maybe 5, because the roll call is going to be somewhere at the end of July, beginning of August.
Yep.
Then these people who are trying to get in that spot, they're going to shut up because they can't get in that spot anymore. And so that is the microcosm of how we just move through being inundated with garbage for 4 or 5 weeks. That's AI. That AI is going to do that. It's going to be the same as that. And it's up to us to sort of like take a pause, like look at the thing, ask ourselves, am I being conned? Am I being conned by this picture, by this video, by this audio? Just think about it. But we're sort of seeing that happen in front of us.
Yes.
And the way to solve for it is not to get rid of AI. It's to solve for like how we react and how we look at the information. It's in us to solve it in us.
Yeah, have more command over our own reactions. And again, I've said this before too. This is a lot of the reaction to Biden's debate has been very emotional for a lot of people, not intellectual, not material. And I to your point about sort of feeling embarrassed in front of the maggots at work, people need to realize that you make a decision about what something means before you have an emotion about it. And if you don't believe me, then look at how you reacted when somebody took a poke at Trump naturally versus how you would feel if they took a poke at Obama or Biden. You made a decision in your mind what that feels like. Same thing with Trump supporters. That's why a bunch of them were crying. The problem, last night at the beginning, and probably the most glorious thing, and really where I knew, like, when they were weeping, I was like, okay, they're going to be selling this. I was aware of how I could see the story. You could see the New York Post writing its headline while the weepy people were watching him tell this apocryphal bullshit story where he's rewriting history. But then he couldn't not be Trump, and he just finished the speech he didn't get to do that day, which was fucking awful. And he just kept blathering, and some of it was actually in the teleprompter. They had intended on him attacking immigrants and all this kind of stuff in this speech. They thought this would work. So it wasn't even that, it was this unity speech and then he just went off the rails and did it. He planned both his blather and bullshit and the awful that he said specifically, because they put in the dead people that were killed by immigrants in the prompter so he would get their names right, in the prompter. Yeah. So sitting there watching this, I'm like, yeah, he's fucked this up. He's snatched, like failure from the jaws of victory again.
And if you're like worried about him not doing that, just look back at all the times that he had the opportunity and didn't do it all of his life.
Yeah,
like,
he can't
trust in what you see.
and stop with this, like, everybody. There's a reason why the phrase "you can't teach an old dog new tricks" has been a standard idea for a very long time. Now, is it true all the time? No, you absolutely can, and you can tell that some people can grow and move past stuff. I would argue, though, that does not apply to someone's ethics or morals. And the reason why Biden has been able to change is that he's always done the things, even if he's done them wrong in terms of, the arc of history and what was okay in the 90s or the 80s or the 70s versus now. He was always doing it from a good place. So he didn't have to train his morals and his ethics to catch up. You just had, he changed with the times because the ballast for what it means to be a good person has shifted and expanded, which is good and how it should work. Trump, that when they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, it's because morally he is latched onto this like 15-year-old angry, ugly shitheel that his parents were berating and all that kind of stuff. And he just, not only will he not move on from it because he's emotionally and psychologically and psychosexually incapable, but he likes it. He found ways to win using those ways. It's like I've said about like, horrible criminals. It isn't that, like the Ted Bundys of the world are simply psychotic and that explains what they're doing. No, they found a way to meet their needs and it worked for them. It was just outside the realm of what we would do to meet our needs. But it was absolutely sane. It was like, hell, if I strangle this cat, I feel better. Like that's a sane decision, but from an insane action, right? That's where they get it from. And that's why they're able to be serial killers. It's why they're able to be psychotics. It's why they're able to be like the kind of CEO that would poison the water or hire a death squad to kill people so you have access to water for soda in fucking India. Or kill off your rival for a like Vodafone in fucking Asia, right? There's snap and go nuts crazy, and there's shit your pants and wave around a board with nails in it nuts, and then there's the sane kind of crazy that Trump is, and that's exactly what he is. Like all his the way he's gotten his needs met is disgusting, but it's not crazy. It's not insane, and it's not excusable.
It fits in the compartment of who he is.
Yeah, it's completely logical. And since he morally has no limit on who he is, it's fine. We write it off as psychopathy or sociopath behavior, but quite frankly, it's just it works. It's a scheme that works. He saw a nail and found a hammer. That's it. And so writing it off as like, well, he's sick or his parents treated him like shit or whatever. There's a lot of people whose parents treated him like shit, never hurt anybody. So that again, this boils down to what kind of person you become. And that gets us to, as dovetailed as it is, back to artificial intelligence and AI as our new user interface for computers, are talking to computers and are addressing them almost as a person to get stuff done.
I wanted to bring up the Russian troll farm, that the story's been out there that now the Russian troll farms are using AI.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the point we've been trying to make. So in 2016, there were Russian troll farms, and now they're replacing Russian troll farms with AI.
Yeah.
Again, they're using AI to augment what humans were already doing, right? So I hope this connects, but one of the very earliest concepts that you like instilled in me, it's kind of sick, is the thing you talk about, chemical weapons. So why are chemical weapons banned and not conventional weapons? Because they both kill people. And your concept is, or the thought process is that because chemical weapons, you can go in and kill everybody, but leave the infrastructure. So it's cheaper to use it as a weapon, and there's no consequences because you don't have to go back and rebuild the infrastructure. You can just go use it, right? It's a sick concept, but it's meaningful in this AI thing, because if you think of chemical weapons as the worst of the worst because they're cheap and they have, and then you can go use the infrastructure. AI, it's 1,000,000 times cheaper than chemical weapons, and you don't even have to kill anybody to use it, right?
Yeah.
So understand that it's being used by actors like Russia or China or whoever's trying to do it, and it's being used in the same way that other weapons are, but it's free. Brexit was basically free for Russia. Yes, right. In 2016, basically free for Russia. They didn't need to do anything but convince us to do it for them. So AI, in this sense, it's it's basically augmented. Like they would have. I kind of misspoke a little at the beginning of this. It's not AI that's the weapon. It's actually the information warfare, I guess you would call it, or psyops, or infiltrating social media with bots, that sort of thing. It's the act, and AI is something that
simplifies the process.
That can accelerate. It can accelerate it. It can make it so you don't need 1,000 human beings in a warehouse doing it on their computers, or in India or in China. You can do it basically with a server or multiple servers, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're seeing the government currently do is they're policing that, and so you police the bad actions of people using AI, mm-hmm. and you regulate the good actions of doctors using AI to maybe help solve problems with cancer or cure cancer. So what we're doing is we're not like throwing out AI in, calling it this horrible thing. We're actually just going after the effect of it, the result of it. Yeah. And we're dealing with that on its face, right? Yeah. And that's how we need to proceed with all of these things.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, one of the things that Russia has specifically done for a very long time is use your enemy's strength against them, turn it into a weakness. And one of the ways you do that is freedom, is the idea that, we have freedom of speech over here. So what they've done is take the illusion of freedom of speech, meaning you create fake American accounts in social media. And if you try to shut them down or turn them off, people will cry, you're violating the constitutional rights of this person who does not exist. They are a construction of an algorithm and a series of like psyop responses that have been programmed in that are, trained on how to respond to these kind of things. And then you can, because what AI does is let you be a force multiplier, creates like stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of these kind of things. Whereas you would have to hire an individual to sit there and do this. And in 2016, they needed a translator. They were using Google Translate specifically to translate almost word for word. So you could see the clunky language come out there. And the your, and their mispronunciations and misspellings or whatever had a lot to do with them trying to get past using Google Translate and just trying to type what they'd said before or copy and paste things that they'd seen from other things to put together to speed up the process. Now they don't have to do that, right? Now they can have AI do it, and it has perfect English, and it can be charming and whatever, and they can just kind of stack it and roll it. The issue with that is that there's going to be a shit or get off the pot moment where people are going to go, am I talking to a real person? Because these chatbots are really good. So how do I know that anybody I'm talking to online? Hell, how do I know my friend doesn't have an AI bot running their account right now? And I'm saying hi, and they're like, hey, how's Carol? They're like, fuck, how's it know that's Carol? It's my girlfriend, blah, blah, you know what I mean? Like people are going to be aware of that. Look at the email writings help that you can now get in almost every program to help finish an email that will include details from your list of contacts about where you met them the first time and who their spouse is or who their kids are and when their birthday is and all that kind of that is automatic, right? So there's going to be a bunch of people that are, we're going to reach a point, and I think we're fairly close to that anyways, because I think there's a dubiousness that you're talking about that's kind of pervasive and growing, that you're going to go, am I talking to a real person or not? And that means we're going to need a law. We're going to talk about the regulation aspect of this, is that to honor and respect free speech for citizens of the United States who have free speech versus citizens of other countries that do not, and if they're in the United States, have free speech physically, but if they're overseas and they're using our system to lie and then they pretend to be somebody else, that's not free speech, that's fraud. That there's going to have to be a little asterisk next to every account that's a bot account legally. And I was like, the social media companies are going to fight this like crazy, because if you do that, suddenly the advertising revenue drops through the fucking floor. Because, oh shit, this person who I've been advertising on their channel like Hal Sparks, has actually the real people that he says. And then this other channel has 1 million subscribers, none of which are real. They have the same viewership, but one has 1 million subscribers and one has 70,000, right? So that there will be a bunch of people punching back against that. But the advertisers would be very smart to push for this online as well as citizens, because we are being bullshitted. There is another side to this, and I wanted to show you an article. This is Censorship Slows China's AI Advances. And this is kind of exactly the issue with why America and Europe will be way ahead in the AI race overall, and why it will be murky and mucked up, but a lot more effective, because we're not limiting what we can look at in any functional way, especially because it would make the government upset. Right? That is not that's not our standard. How to build a bomb, Nazi propaganda, yes, we'll probably, dissuade people from that. But if you wrote a long diatribe on the bell curve, it's not going to shut you down. It's just going to shut down the N-word and both of them, I guess. Right.
These are the wraparound effect of the Mao era. They basically told everybody you can't read books anymore and you can't see what's outside of the country anymore. And effectively all that did is it destroyed their innovation completely. Yes. And it's still today destroyed because of that. That's why Chinese copy and don't innovate at a rate of any other place.
And they absolutely could, for the record. As human beings, there's nothing that says that a Chinese person isn't capable of innovation or whatever. And it is just heartbreaking that they have basically been cowed and abused in that country from being every ounce of innovative spirit has been beaten out of them.
Or if they have it in them and they go try to exercise it, they're going to get put in jail. They're going to get put off to the side. You can't make it there like that. But in the US and Europe, you can. Yeah. So a lot of those people move to those places and innovate. But I know it, we constantly say this, it sounds crazy, but the more you see, right? There's more, and it actually has the opposite effect of what we seem to want to think it does. So more information, it's a deluge, but eventually you get over that. We talked a long time ago about the uncanny valley. You keep ramping up and ramping up. This is the Trump the shark thing. You keep ramping up and eventually you're so disgusted by that person, nothing sticks. Yes. And we're witnessing a moment when literally nothing is sticking.
Oh yeah.
And that's meaningful. And so AI and I saw a quick message. I don't remember who it was from, about generative AI inside of art. And we keep talking about art in the same way. So there's going to be a tipping point, and it's probably already here, where people they see something that's obviously generated and they reject it.
Yeah, they shrug it off.
They shrug it off. And then and it actually empowers the individual artist, just like YouTube empowers you and empowers all of independent media. It's the exposure, it's the volume that's doing it, right? So we just need to keep pushing through it with your stoic optimism. Just keep looking at the big picture. And man, I have to say, I'm sure it has for you, but in my world, I've been tested heavily the past 3 to 5 weeks with my friends, the people who trust me, that call me, and I feel like I'm everybody's therapist.
Me too.
Look at this and tell me why this isn't the end of the world, basically. And maybe this is what Democrats, the 12 or 20 people that seem to be, in these news articles, maybe this is something they can learn, that when you see this crap come out and tell people what's happening. Just be transparent about it. Right. Because if they would say we're just really worried because this is a major time. We don't know what we're going to do. We're thinking about it. We have this moment. People would be like, all right, that's cool. You know,
of course
like
you are.
Now everybody in your space, Hal, they've been screaming for three or 4 weeks, like, hey, everybody, I don't know if you know this, but every single person out there is for Biden.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't seen one person that's like, all this is happening and maybe I'm not going to vote for Biden anymore.
Right.
No. They're like, fuck the New York Times.
Yeah,
fuck
right.
everybody out there. I'm for Biden.
Yeah.
Shut up. Like, stop.
Right. Well, it triggered a reaction that was so profound. It
Exactly.
almost, in my mind, there were a couple of moments where I was like, maybe this is a rope-a-dope. Maybe this is one of the greatest psyops on a presidential level. If you want to go full on, like, they do have things like MK Ultra, giant companies in the CIA do have ways of doing this stuff, where they've studied it for years. Maybe this is them finally going, we have to put into effect, Project Doddering, where they're just like, we're gonna shoot it. When Biden comes out, we're gonna hit him with the Havana ray because we figured out how the Russians were doing it. He's gonna be a mess, but he'll recover quickly, and it will totally rope-a-dope the Trump side into just being complete dickheads and never reform their message. And if that was what, if that's what it was, it fucking worked. But it was so extreme in the response and what made me even entertain that comedically as a thought was how everybody around me was just like, fuck you. And, in their huge response, pushing back on him because, and again, we're all in our own cul-de-sacs to some degree. I've built a fairly great one here, I'm very proud to say. But we have maggots that sneak in occasionally and whatever. But I have, in looking at it, I went and watched the whole thing over again. And so I had a different perspective on it, even than the people who reacted from a gut level in the beginning, because we watched it again, which nobody else seems to have had the guts to do at all, right?
Yeah.
I
mean, the reaction that I hear is, I don't think of the groups that I talk to or the people that I talk to on a daily basis are not a cul-de-sac in my mind, because in this Chicagoland area, you don't go too far and it's extremely red.
Yeah.
So I work for a lot of companies that are manufacturing companies, and it goes all the way across the board. When I was young, they used to call it white collar, blue collar. It's like the factory and the office. Like, so across that range, in general, I've not seen one person, who I knew was previously a Democrat and not just a Trump sycophant, like, have a reaction, which is what the news says they're having.
Right.
I'm not one of them.
Not a single one.
In fact, they even say the news is crazy.
Yeah.
I have to stop looking at that.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, like, our radar is different now than it was in 2016.
Right.
And to the subject of our show, AI is another thing on our radar. And maybe it actually primed us for this a little bit. Like, we were like talking for months about, AI, we're going to see all this fake video and audio. And so we were already kind of primed for it. And so when you don't believe anything, I keep saying it, if you don't believe anything, you don't believe anything. But that doesn't mean you're like void. It means you like pay closer attention. And so in a room that's dark, the light stands out. In the room of light, the dark stands out, right? So like we're in that kind of flipping mode where now it's dark and now all of a sudden we're in Vegas and there's like, they're trying to pump more light at you to get your attention.
Right.
And then somebody puts up a black sign in the middle of the light and it's a shadow. And they're like, I'll go to that hotel in Vegas, right? So we're kind of in this like flipping motion of like, almost like coming back on ourselves and realizing like, okay, like we're still where we were 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
Well, consider that. I think that's a great point. Consider the fact that in all of this jumble, all of the news that you have heard, all the craziness, all the emotional vacillation, the wailing and gnashing of teeth, the rending of garments, the screaming at the sky, this somber resolution, all those all over the map, and of course me standing in a field going, "Fuck is wrong with you guys?" All of that for 3.5 weeks, and we are exactly where we started.
Exactly. Yes, totally. The trajectory it's just like the stock market with COVID. Yes. It like went down, but it stayed like the line is still up and to the right.
Right, because other shit is in play. And I have to say, like, one of my favorite pictures, and I got a printout of it, and I framed it and put it on my son's wall. And I'll see if I can show it on here. This is the cover of my iPad. And that's Captain America by himself against the Thanos army. When his arm is broken and everybody else is dead, and he's had his ass kicked, and he's just a man, and he just pulls the thing and just starts marching before he hears "on your left," right? Before anybody comes to help him, he just says, "All right, if it's just me, it's just me. I'm not gonna, if I have 1 ounce of blood left in me or the ability to fight, there may be tens of thousands of people, I'm just gonna fucking keep going." And he does. And I found that part so heart swelling when I watched it, and it was it nice that he got back up? Absolutely. But that whole moment I was like, I resonate with that feeling so often, and I mean, it's here, I'll show you. It's why I have hanging in my office in the studio this thing as a reminder, Yep. Yes, I'm a nerd who likes Marvel comic stuff, but on top of that, it's why I don't have I have the full one. I have the real one, like the whole thing. It's in the living room because I like it in there in the game room. But this is the one that I keep in my office because that's the reminder. That's the thing, like, get the fuck back up. And Biden's whole thing of people, when you get knocked down, you get back up. And then playing fucking an Irish band saying that, it's just beautiful. So
yeah, there's a cadence. There's been a cadence to Biden's interfacing with us.
Yes,
and it happened. It happened in the first election. It happens during his presidency. There's a cadence to it, and he's in a quiet moment. And it makes sense to be in a quiet moment during the RNC. Let those assholes be assholes. Like, right. They're showing you who they are. So now next week, it's whatever happens, we're all here for the same purpose, right? Mm-hmm. But the viewers might want to see you cover Trump. So I just want to say a couple quick things in finalizing. So thank you, Hal, for everything you do. Thank you for having. We normally talk AI, and I'm sure we'll get back to the super nerdy stuff. I thought it was important today to address some of this stuff, just because everybody's their mental health needs it, I think. Yeah. I to anybody who doesn't know me in the chat, I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just Hal's friend. Yeah. And I help him with tech to keep him going. Right. And if anybody out there is an independent media that needs any tech help, please contact Andrea or through the chat. I'm on Discord, and I will help you. That's what I do. It's kind of been the thing that I've found is my way of volunteering for all things political. And so in that, I have found that these little things, like for Boston Brian, he was having trouble. Mm-hmm. And so for Boston Brian to be successful, he just needs a clean feed, right? He just needs to be on camera and talk. So after an hour, maybe 2 hours of him and I talking, he kind of cleaned it all up, and we didn't buy anything new. All we did was we simplified, we got it down to a system. He's doing that now, and he's good, right? Mm-hmm. That's the kind of help that I've been giving to people across the board. And for me, I think that the number one way for people to move forward out of this time is to listen to whoever they listen to. And everybody that I see out there has the same message that Hal has. Every single one of them is the same message. They're like, no, this is what we're doing. Stop talking. They already know what they're going to do. So I want to, if you're out there and you need help, I will help you. Great. That's the thing that I'm doing. And, after that, we'll talk more robots and space next week.
Because this behind all this, there's been this huge march of progress but the news has eaten this in the same way that like Ukraine is kicking ass right now. You know, when I talked to Phil about this, it's almost like it's fallen under the radar as well, that they've done incredibly well since they've gotten American support. There's a similar thing with like AI where it's kind of working out its kinks behind the scenes.
Yes.
Because some of the attention came off of it, right, for a little while. And that has benefited it a little bit because it's slowly but surely. And Apple, we talked about this right before you went on vacation, but Apple's AI, which they're like, we're going to roll out relatively slowly. And we're going to, because it's going to take a little while for people to get comfortable with it so that they incorporate it and it becomes fucking useful. None of the other tech stuff we had from how the personal computer runs or any of that stuff was just dumped all at once. We didn't all get like 4080 PCs with, 168, 128 gigs of RAM and, and super fast hard drives and all that kind of stuff. It was like, again, my Mac 128K Mac with the hard discs, the plastic discs on it, the dot matrix printer. A lot of that, we forget how it was doled out over time, and we warmed up to it in the same way a frog in boiling water does. But yes. I would argue this is the frog in the hot tub idea, that the frog in the hot tub might not realize how good the hot tub is for him. So you warm it up so that he's comfortable and you go, okay, that's hot enough for me. And then you develop it, right. And then you heat it up.
And then
it's a
heat it up later, right?
That's right. As opposed to,
we needed all those stepping stones.
Yes.
Like, we wouldn't have got here without that time. So we needed to be on our slow computers with our dot matrix printers. And at that time, they weren't slow.
That's right.
We thought they were the most amazing thing that we'd ever seen.
Oh my God, absolutely.
And then a year later, the next most amazing thing we ever saw was
That's
that,
right.
So,
yeah, when you forget, when you're standing at the top of the mountain, a lot of times you forget all the individual steps you took. You can kind of be of a soft awareness of the path that got you there, but you're not, ruminating on all of the bits that got you there, right? I think Jacuzzi Frog might be might be a new motto of Housemarque's Megaworldwide.
It seems a little less grim than the boiling frog, I think.
Yeah, it does. Jacuzzi Frog. That's exactly it. Like, that's hot enough. That's good. Stop it right there. Thanks very much. Ribbit. So, anyways, thank you so much, brother. I am going to jump into looking back over some of what happened last night and some of the mea culpa-ing that is going on in the media around this dead talking point about Biden leaving, which absolutely died a horrible death in the last 12 hours.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you, Hal. Love you, brother.
Yeah, you too. And I'll see you in Chicago too. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. You're invited to run your show out of my studio here.
So be so good. Oh, I'm so excited. Just count on it.
I've already got the space kind of planned out how I'm going to do it.
That's lovely. I'll even bring my own green screen. I've got one that I tour with, so we'll just tack it up.
I have a green screen here.
Look at this. See,
I have a blue screen if you want that.
So beautiful. Yeah, because I have brown eyes, so it doesn't matter to me. Yeah. But
I got both, so
that's right.
Choose.
Right. All right. Thank you, brother, so much,
and
welcome back from vacation. And we will talk AI even more thoroughly next week.
Absolutely. Bye, everybody.
Thanks. Cheers. There he goes, Rob Glenn. Everybody. I mean, just the a necessary part of the Megaworldwide family and the Sparkler crowd. And the fact that he's been able to help people like Boston Brian and others to get their show firing on all cylinders, just so great. So great. So that said, hello. Let me, because one of the other stories I was going to show was this one, which I thought he would appreciate. The biggest problem with AI, getting consumers to buy it. The reality is that anything like that, and by the way, let me bring in this. Hi, chat room. Let me open you up. There you go. One of the things about that storyline and why Forbes is full of dum-dums is because you don't sell people an idea. You sell them a product that works already. You know what I mean? Like the car was not sold because how do you sell people on the combustion engine? Does that make sense? Yeah. Who said AI should be free? Well, the problem with AI is not free to generate. It is not free to make. It is not freely made. It is structurally very complicated. It was nothing like that is free. It does. It is the only things that should be free is things that are free of effort. Philip will be on tomorrow. He's on Saturdays with us. So, couple of things. Let me jump in here, and let me tell you what, kids. Let me tell you something. The last night, the Trump speech was so bad. How bad is it? It was so bad that where's this? Okay, I don't want this guy. It was so terrible that it knocked all the talk of Biden leaving the race off the front page of every paper. Do you know how hard that is to do? Do you have any idea? Yeah, here we go. There we go. Let's try to do this. When you've got AOL, listen to me. Hold on. You've got time. Where is it? Hold on. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. The stuff that's coming up is about the sort of Y2K thing that's happening everywhere. Yeah. So, I'll open this guy up real quick. Yeah. So, just in case, I said, I've been saying that Biden's not going anywhere. And he's going to run, he's going to win. Period, end of story. And all the people are like, why don't we run Kamala? Well, you are. If anything happens to him, she fills in. And then she picks her running mate while she's in office, and then they run for another term. And that's how it's supposed to fucking work. I'm voting for the guy who's most capable and who's making all the right decisions right now. So I don't need to separate that ticket up and vote for her because I already get her. That's why I like it. That's why Biden-Harris was my ticket from the start. That's why I called the Biden-Harris ticket from the start. Remember? Okay. So that said, today, all over Twitter, again, for the sixth fucking time, the Biden campaign and everybody involved in it is, this is the title on it. Biden campaign chair confirms 2024 run. Look at this. Scott Dworkin. Campaign chair confirms Biden staying in. Quick poll. Who else wants Joe Biden to stay there? More committed than ever. Biden campaign makes clear he is staying in the race. New Biden campaign email just now. Joe Biden has made it more than clear. He is in this race and he's in it to win it. Moreover, he's the presumptive nominee. There is no plan for an alternative nominee. In a few short weeks, Joe Biden will be the official nominee. Yes. Can I translate this for people in the cheap sheets? Fuck you. He's not going anywhere. He never was. He never needed to. And I'm looking forward to, after he takes on when he becomes the official nominee, because they're going to do the roll call version of it, the virtual call, and then they're going to follow it up with this, the convention. I feel it a personal responsibility to do a review of some of the folks that were shitting on him during this period, who were lying and saying that the conversation is that he's going to be driven out and stuff. Folks, and some of them do watch my show. Let me tell you, a bunch of them do. I'm here to tell you, kids, I'm coming for you. If you participated and you're in the media and you participated in this shit, I don't care about people on Twitter. People are allowed to have whatever opinions they want. But if you're in the news and you were selling this horse shit, I'm going to remind everybody when he becomes the nominee, and then again when he wins. When Biden wins this fall, and he will, we're going to do a year in review that is just going to be glorious. So get your shirt collars ready, because in December we're gonna look back at who was, yes, Van Jones, all that crowd. We're gonna take a big retrospective look at just how full of shit you knew you were. So, this is on Morning Joe today.
Joining us now, chair of the Biden-Harris campaign, Jen O'Malley Dillon. Jen, thank you for being on. So, what is the plan? Is Joe Biden still in the race? Does he plan to stay in the race? And if so, what's the plan?
Thanks so much for having me, Mika. And look, absolutely the president's in this race. You've heard him say that time and time again. And I think we saw on display last night exactly why, because Donald Trump is not going to offer anything new to the American people. He's the same person he was in 2020. He's the same person he was at the debate stage. He's the same person he is that is about himself and not about the American people. And Joe Biden is more committed than ever to beat Donald Trump. And we believe on this campaign, we are built for the close election that we are in, and we see the path forward. The president is the leader of our campaign and of the country, and he is clearly, in our impression and what we've built and in our engagement with voters, he is the best person to take on Donald Trump and prosecute that case and present his vision versus what we saw last night.
And
joining us now.
Hold on, get out of here. Boink. The fun part is like Mika Brzezinski's like slight eyebrow raise when she says he's staying in, like she's fucking surprised. Look at this disclosure. 3 hours. Just in, Biden's family starts discussing Joe's exit plan from the race on his timing with a carefully calculated plan in place, NBC. Nope. This is AOC jumped in and defended Biden and masterfully in her Instagram live. Let's see. And I want to hear, this is what Mika said about.
Don't back him into the corner.
Hold on.
What people close to Joe Biden have said all along is he's a man of great pride. He can be stubborn and tough. Don't back him into the corner. If he's going to do this, let him do it his way on his time frame. And when all of these reports started coming out, that's when the campaign started pushing back. And I think part of that is giving him the space to make this decision, to finish making this decision with his family this weekend.
He's also a man of faith and a man of tremendous historic accomplishment. And look, it's impossible to ignore where this is going and exactly what started it. I'm not unaware of that. At the same time, I still believe that you don't know what you have until it's gone, and that there will be that feeling at some point.
You think there'll be, if he leaves the race, you think Democrats will regret it?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Because among many reasons, which I've already stated and I won't state again, don't worry, but none of these notions are backed by a strong alternative, an alternative that has beat Trump before, an alternative that is...
By the way, can I just show you, can I remind you what you're actually watching here? Okay, let's be abundantly clear. You're not seeing two people having a genuine conversation about these 2 points. You are seeing these two people walk back their position, which they were firmly entrenched in for about 48 hours, where they were saying, this is done and dusted. He's fucked, and everything we hear is around him. People are, and by the way, everything they hear was the same shit. Thanks, Josh. Everything you hear... they heard was from the same sources we were hearing from, which were all bullshit to start with. They're walking that back. That's what this is. Listen to the words you were hearing and know that they're both going, but I think it'd be a mistake, really. It's, I know we were saying it's over, but if you really think about it, it's probably not the best thing in the world if they did. That's exactly what this is. That's what this is. This is not them having second thoughts. They've already had their ass handed to them in this argument. They have already been told by a dozen fucking people, both on the campaign and that are close to Morning Joe, because apparently Biden watches the show. They've gotten an earful on the fucking phone. Both of them. This is them walking backwards. This is them trying to exit the room that they barged into and were wrong. I'm just saying, for the record.
Vetted, an alternative that is tested. And so that's a lot.
Just seriously. Democratic coalition confirmed. Joe Biden is staying in the race, committed to beating Donald Trump. There it is. Campaign chair confirms Joe staying in. Yeah. There's Aaron Parnas. Joe Biden can and will defeat Donald Trump tonight. Made that exponentially more clear. No question. No question. And the interesting thing was, somebody said losing viewers by the second. Lawrence O'Donnell is the only MSNBC show that has not shit the bed since this whole drumbeat to get rid of Biden has started. The only show that has not lost ratings since that bullshit started, since this groundswell fucking drumbeat has started. The only show. Has this audience grown? No, because the network's audience has fallen off because nobody wants to hear this shit because it's so disjointed. Lawrence, God bless him, has been committed to, especially around this, an awareness that, campaigns are long and full of bumps and ruffles, and you don't throw all your weight behind a talking point. You have no idea about the truth. He's just watching other people get out over their skis, and even if he's just smart enough to go, I'll tap the brakes a little bit, that in and of itself is enough. That's what makes him a genuine newsman versus everybody else. Joy Reid's been pretty strong about this as well. I agree. But she's earlier in the day. She's not during the opinion stretch, right? And she's been sort of swamped in her conversation and more tepid about it when she's been in the group, right? That's why. Lawrence has been just kind of rock solid on this. There was a period where Joy seemed to be sipping the Kool-Aid about this, and then she went back. Then she, that lately, especially last night after it, everybody was like, oh, that whole thing we were talking about, that's all bullshit. That's all fucking bullshit. Like it's like, honest to God, it's like Trump's speech woke them up. Yeah. For real. And Rachel, I think, was the most disappointing of all of them in this. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, her husband, former President Bill Clinton, and Biden campaign co-chair and media mogul Jeff Katzenberg have all made pleas to donors, asking them to stick with Biden, according to people briefed on the matter. Look, they know it's a waste of fucking time. There is no change in ticket. There's no way to beat Trump if you change the ticket. This idea of Dems in chaos bullshit is nonsense. They don't need to switch fucking leaders the way they did, the Republicans did with McCarthy and Johnson. It's dumb. It's fucking dumb. Biden staying in the race. There you go. Look at this. This was drama alert. Right. Reports that Joe Biden has told Democratic leaders he does not believe he can win 2024 and will be dropping out of this week. See this graphic? Horse shit. Fantasy. Garbage. Also, really easy to handle. So you go in here like this, and you go mute. Then you don't have to see them again. Because they're full of shit. Breaking report. This is Chuck Alesto. Biden campaign chair reveals Joe is absolutely staying in the 2024 race. This is AOC giving her a little Instagram live where she went through all the reasons why this would be a fucking absurd path. Yeah. If Dems think the black support is dwindling now, if they pass over VP Harris, okay, again, you go further back on this, you're going to see people who are, here you go. Obama asked Biden to reconsider 2024 race and drop out. Horse shit. By the way, anywhere you see this, where they say this statement, and then there's a picture that makes it look like it's from a newspaper, but it isn't, they're assuming you're not going to click through. And so they assume you're going to look at this and think, this must be an article that knows something. It fucking doesn't. John Meacham, historian, has contributed to some speeches by President Biden, tells CBS News that reports Thursday of him working on a speech for Biden to exit the race are, quote, totally false. There we go. Joe Biden, I'm not fucking leaving. mostly peaceful memes. We support VP Harris, is all this kind of stuff. Punchbowl News, Democratic leadership on the Hill will be forced to go public with their misgivings about Biden's candidacy by next week. Yeah, fuck you. No. Nope. No. And by the way, you could argue, and many I'm sure will, you could absolutely argue that if Trump had actually had a concise and well-spoken, even if he hit on some of the Project 2025 shit, acceptance speech last night, this would be a harder thing to sell to make people recognize. But after that speech last night, he basically undid all the sympathy towards him about the shooting that he might have had anywhere but in maggot land. This was another thing. I'm going to show you this real quick. So this is Political Polls is posting stuff like this. Let me show you this right quick. They posted this, and I thought it was particularly fascinating. This general election poll: Biden 80%, Trump 7% among liberal voters, plus 73. Not surprising at all. The idea that there's liberal voters voting for Trump and it's 7%, that's almost your margin of error there. Among moderate voters, Biden has an 11-point edge right now, 46 to 35. That's not even the news. And again, this is the majority of voters. The majority of people who vote in America are either liberal or moderate voters. Okay? Even like most independents don't even cop to one word or another, so they'll fall in the moderate area because they like to mitigate what they're saying. That is not the most telling part of this poll at all. You know what is? This one right here. Look at that shit. Among conservative voters, Trump 75%. Again, Biden has 80% of liberals. Trump has 75% of conservative voters, which means 25% of them are up for grabs, and 17%. Again, Trump has 7% of liberal voters, according to this poll. 17% of the conservative voters are going. That's the Haley effect. There are your Haley voters. There's a bunch of them here too, because they'll call themselves this. They'll say, I'm a conservative, but I'm a moderate, and blah, blah, blah. They're leaning this way. They're going with Biden in this as a way to shut Trump down and maybe salvage their party. Because that's the other storyline that's going to play up all the way to the fucking election. Republicans, you want to salvage your party? You vote for Joe Biden. Because he's not trying to destroy the Republican Party. Trump is. You want any chance of Republicans being able to salvage their party and bring it back and actually be voices of conservatism and stuff for real? You have to send Trump packing. You have to embarrass the living fuck out of him. You can't just have him lose softly. You have to, curb stomp his campaign. Stargal says, salvage your party, you mean salvage the country? No, I don't. Because I don't know that they believe in those kind of standards. But I do believe that they think that their party is the way to keep America on the straight and narrow, or Christian or whatever. And if they really believe that, they have to save their party first, because it's going to go off the cliff before the country does. They're not strong enough to fuck up America. They tried. But if you ever want a chance to actually stand for, I think, some level of real conservative values, whatever you believe those to be, it means Donald Trump has to be sent packing with his tail between his legs. Republicans need to send this fucker out to pasture. It's ice flow time. So, I found this part fucking fascinating. More than any other aspect of this poll. Of course Biden gets the majority of liberal voters. He gets 5% more than Trump gets of conservative voters. That's what drew my eye to this. Then 75%. He's plus 58. Biden's plus 73 with liberal voters. Biden's plus 11 with moderate voters. There's no coming back. No one's going to moderate towards Trump after last night's speech or how he's going to act after this. If he couldn't get his unity act together last night, you fucking think he's going to do it at rallies going forward? Are you nuts? I mean, I think it's kind of nuts to assume that he's not going to be introduced by Hulk Hogan and fucking Kid Rock at monster truck rallies from here to the election. Good Lord. Get the fuck out of here. Okay. So yeah. I find it like this whole bullshit. Yeah. So, and the other thing is they fact checked Trump during the thing, which is, the irony that Tapper wants to be in this fucking clip stream about this is hilarious. Like he wants to be present when it happens. Here you go.
That the challenge of being a fact checker in this modern era, especially of President Trump, is one, he says so many things that are not accurate within a short period of time. But two, it's quite frequently you say the same lies or misstatements over and over.
Yeah, they're boring lies.
Over and over. How did tonight's speech match up?
It was a remarkably long acceptance speech, Jake, and a remarkably dishonest acceptance speech. I counted at least 22 false claims from Donald Trump on first listen. Let's start with...
On first listen, they go through these, let's see. Is this just the little piece of this? Same thing? Okay, this is
22 false claims from Donald Trump on first listen. Let's start with one of the wildest claims he made. Listen to what he said about the state of the world when he was president.
The world was at peace. Our opponents inherited a world at peace and turned it into a planet of war. We're in a planet of war. The whole world was at peace, and now the world is blowing up around us.
This is false. Trump did not achieve world peace when he was president, certainly wasn't at peace when he left office. There were active wars or armed conflicts in dozens of nations in 2020, 51 by one research institution's count, and then 51 again in 2021. Trump handed President Biden ongoing civil wars in Yemen and Syria, of course, an unresolved Israeli-Palestinian conflict, Israeli-Iranian conflict, a war in Ethiopia. I could go on for a while, but I don't have time because there were so many other false claims. So let's adjust some of those, not even all of them. He repeated his usual lie about Democrats having cheated in the 2020 election. It's nonsense. He said crime is going up. The opposite is true. It's gone sharply down in 2023 and early 2024, is now lower than it was under Trump in 2020. He said we have the worst inflation we've ever had. Again, not even close. It is 3% right now. The U.S. record is 23.7%. He said there was no inflation under him. It was low, of course, but not non-existent. It was 8% total for his presidency, 1.4% year over year in the month he left office.
By the way, it would have been 11%, but for COVID collapsing the economy.
He said the price of groceries is up 57% under Biden. It's actually 21%. He said Democrats are proposing to quadruple people's taxes. That is imaginary. He said his tax cut was the largest in American history, not even close again. He said the Biden administration does nothing to stop migrants. Well, the administration tried to get Congress to pass a bill to tighten the border, and after Trump himself helped to kill that bill, Biden took executive action to tighten the border. Trump said he stopped human trafficking. Again, not true. He said China stopped buying oil from Iran under him. Also did not happen. He said foreign governments are deliberately sending criminals and mental health patients to the U.S. as migrants. His own campaign has been unable to provide proof for that. I certainly haven't found any myself. He said we defeated ISIS, 100% of ISIS, in a couple of months. In fact, the ISIS caliphate was declared fully liberated more than 2 years into his presidency. And there were other exaggerations about trade with China, about North Korean missile launches, about gas prices, about IRS agents. So it just went on and on and on.
Yeah, we know. That's the other thing, too, is that there's a bunch of folks that are, previous as you guys have seen, I've covered his fucking speeches. It's the same shit. He can't not lie. He can't stop himself. I really do feel like he wanted to finish the speech from when he almost felt like he should be allowed to finish the speech he was gonna tell when he got shot at. Right? it seems like he just, that last night, we've seen that shit before. We've seen him go off on those same tangents, make up that same bullshit, lie about that same garbage. We've seen all these lies before. I think the only thing that keeps him in any way, animated to speak at all is to lay out these bullshit grievances, and he can't stop. And the people who thought he would, the people who thought he was going to come out and give a unity speech and all that shit, I gotta say, part of me, when he was shot, there was a moment where he looked, especially like 2 days ago, when they were showing him where he looked medicated or defeated or something. I had to consider, maybe this guy is scared for the first time in his life, right? But it took about 20 minutes watching him interact with other people. I'm like, nah, he's just fucking exhausted. He's just tired. This isn't about his mental state. Katie Tur and them who were like, he looks pensive. And I was like, nah, he looks high, really. He looks like he's on painkillers. And he fell asleep. So none of this was like, it is my responsibility to go, all right, am I committed to what I think before I see it? If so, let me do a double take and to at least consider the possibility. It didn't take long at all. I was like, no, I know this dude. I've seen this dude before. He hasn't fucking changed at all. And then I said it, and I was like, and then you could, after you realize that, after you spend time really contemplating if it's even possible for this asshole to right the ship that's wrong in his head, the minute you go, nah, it's not possible. Look at him. Listen to him. Look at how he's interacting with other people. He's not changed at all, and he's not going to change. He's not capable of change. Then you stop watching him, and you start watching all the people who were talking about him, and go, all right, they are either incapable of, or they're refusing to, or are being directed to not have that kind of an introspective moment or study him in that way. They're just avoiding it so that they can sell this storyline because they've committed to it. Good Lord. And so even going into the speech, I was like, this is going to be a fucking mess. He even copped to it. I don't know if for those of you that didn't watch it, he had one of those moments where, I don't want to ruin it. It's been such a good thing. We got to finish big, right? He was aware that he was bombing when he did that. And he was saying that because he knew his supporters would go, no, you're doing great. You're so good, right? He knew he could trigger that reaction in them. He was trying to pull sympathy applause or the chant of fight, fight, fight out of them, or roaring applause. And it didn't happen. It did not happen. So, the kissing of the helmet and all that, it's just fucking atrocious. Just embarrassing. So, watching that play out, I gotta say, you know what it was? I think this is the best example. For those of you that watched me as we went through the Biden debate performance, when we went back and looked over it, I was prepared at the beginning of that to not like how it went, because I had the same kind of guttural reaction, but I had made a commitment, we're going to watch it. And so we started from scratch, right at the top, and we watched the whole thing. And in the first 15 minutes, I had this preconceived notion, like, I'm going to see the stuff that I didn't like, and it's going to be uncomfortable and stuff, but we'll just, we're going to look at this thing, warts and all, and go through it, and we'll make it, and whatever. And I was committed to that idea, but it certainly was I was under the impression that it was going to be more uncomfortable than it actually was. And so about 10 minutes in, after you get over his voice and stuff, I was like, he's killing it. Trump's talking out of his ass and will not answer the questions and is all over the fucking place. And anybody watching this for the merits, even when Biden is tired or is trying to run out the clock and flips a word or something, he still did great because he just didn't sound great. And so it made you feel a certain way. So, 10, 15 minutes in, I was like, oh, I feel a lot fucking better about this. Right? The same thing happened with Trump's speech. Because I'm like, oh God, they're going to fucking tell this story. And they got pictures up behind him. And his followers are crying. And I was like, in all honesty, I was like, this is a bunch of shit. And he's lying his ass off about what actually happened. His hand wasn't covered in blood. They weren't worried that he was dead. They all saw him go down. And they all heard everybody blocking him. They knew he wasn't dead. Like, he was just making up this shit, right? But it didn't matter because his people were crying and they were going to react to this and they were going to believe it no matter what, right? So I was like, oh, fuck, they're going to use this, right? And so part of me was like, all right, resolve to, like, how do we address this? How do we talk about it? How am I going to, what's my real feeling about it? How do I, address what everybody is obviously seeing? Yeah. And then he just kept talking. And I got to say, like, after the, and by the way, he definitely had more scripted in there than the ramble. He added on top of that, like, probably the speech itself was probably 45 minutes and the rest of it was like equal parts ramble. But about, 8 minutes in, maybe, I'll tell you the moment I was like, oh, this is face fucked. I was like, I immediately knew, like, everybody that has been telling Biden he's got to drop out and that there's no way he can win against Trump and that he's an unstoppable force and blah, blah, blah. Like, the moment I knew it was over, you want to know the exact moment? When he started talking about Hulk Hogan and Kid Rock and how Kid Rock makes so much money and he has rallies with 50,000 people, and Lee Greenwood, what a great song, and the dead guy's coat was still on stage. He's literally talking about, how much money Kid Rock makes, which is not true. And the dead guy's coat is right there. That's when I knew. I'm like, it was such a lazy, blind afterthought. Like, the amount of just lazy disrespect to, obviously bringing the jacket and the coat there, or put a fucking picture of him up there, or if you had his helmet or something, or his family had it and they brought it, that's one thing, but they brought it out as a fucking prop, and the jacket was on backwards and the name is misspelled. It was always misspelled apparently on there. On his real jacket, that's his real jacket, and then they had misspelled it at the fire station. I would argue, if it were me and I was gonna put it there, I would have just put the hat and the jacket forward without his name and just put a sign or a picture of him next to it to respect him, not show the fact that it was misspelled to the entire world without drawing attention to it. It's super fucking weird. But the point that was the moment. That was the moment. When he went like, Kid Rock, he's got these rallies with 50,000 people and he makes so much money. I don't even think he knows how much money he makes or whatever like that. I was like, this is just gross. He's off the rails. This is never coming back. This is and this is the thing. This is why I said never underestimate the ability of Donald Trump to fuck up a free lunch. The moment where he was doing that, he probably a minute earlier, these fuckers were in tears. And if he'd have just said, that's why we will talk about this in the future, and I would like to spend time with some of you in person. So instead of a longer speech, I'm just going to say, I accept the nomination, step off the fucking stage, and then sit down in a chair and have people talk to him like he's the fucking Godfather the rest of the night. He'd have fucking murdered. The whole place would have gone nuts. The news organizations would have been kissing his ass for 72 fucking hours. But again, when you make up something like this, and the same happened with COVID, like we were talking about with Rob, there is no version of reality where he could have done something like I'm suggesting, because he's not capable of it. He's not morally or emotionally capable of being that introspective. He can't. He's not. It's not possible. Like, there are a bunch of ways. It would have been so fucking easy. He would have skated through 2020 if he'd just been this much less of an asshole. But he can't. He fucking can't. And he never will be. Not now, not tomorrow, not sometime between now and the election. It's not happening. The fact that Joe Biden is an introspective, thoughtful man is exactly what's causing him some of the problems amongst the weaker members of the party right now. Right? Some of them are on the fence, right? Because they were worried about that singular performance against his record and everything else, and everything since, by the way. On the other side, there are a lot, and I mean a lot of Republicans who are now looking at J.D. Vance and going, fuck me, what a terrible choice, because Trump's probably going to keel over. If he makes it to the election, is he going to keel over next year? He's a fucking mess. I, like, 8 minutes in, I was like, this asshole is done. And let me tell you, that I don't doubt that there were, because, again, Joe Biden is a thoughtful, introspective, sometimes silly man, that if they were sitting there watching this at home, he's got COVID, they were like, all right, let's check out this fucker's speech. And I guarantee they had the same thought at the same minute I did. I guarantee, like, whether it was Jill elbowing him or like Biden just sitting there on the couch looking over at her going, doing one of those. Because they knew. They had to have known that the minute he went into this fucking diatribe about, like Hannibal Lecter and sharks and all that kind of shit, when he was going, once he heads down that road, he's not getting back. Now, okay, little backstory. I was friends with Patty Davis, Reagan's daughter. And one of the things his doctor said, Reagan's doctor said, was that the speech he gave in 92 to support H.W. Bush took a year off his life because he had dementia at that time, and it was so stressful that it was so much work for him to get through that speech that it was gonna kill him early. But he did it anyways. And he, in that speech, if you watch him, he keeps saying, okay, all right, while they're applauding. And the reason he does this is because he knows if he gets off the teleprompter or gets lost, he's never getting back. He was holding on to the words of that speech for dear life. He was freaking out all during that speech. So every time they applauded him, he was like, all right. Watch it again. It's very telling. He entered primary dementia before he was reelected. It sped up his life. His life expectancy dropped precipitously after he was shot, because when you're that old and you're injured like that, it shaves years off your life and it speeds up the end. It isn't that it takes the years past when you're broken down. It brings the years where you're broken down closer. Okay? There is clearly a similar thing going on with Donald Trump. The problem is nobody around Trump, not his doctor, certainly not his doctors, if he has any at all, and certainly not his family, and certainly not his campaign people, are saying, look, obviously you are having focus problems, and we really need you to focus on this one, because this is the only thing that can put us over the top. And if you're able to just hold this together and stick to the script, we'll be just fine. Nobody can say that to him. Nobody can. So he just goes up there, says whatever the fuck he wants. Puts stuff in the speech, both in the prompter and off prompter, that are totally inappropriate to the theme that they were selling to everybody. Fucking all the Trump-friendly newspapers already had their Unity headlines printed. And then he fucking just grabbed the wheel and just drove the whole thing into a ditch. And I guarantee everybody in Biden land went, he's fucking done. That's it. We keep doing what Biden's been doing, giving these firebrand speeches. We got 4 days off so that he gets healthy again. Shit. He could pretend to have COVID for an extra 2 days and work on new speeches and stuff and just rehearse. And just do barnstorm speeches across the country that are not rambly, racist pieces of shit. And he's gonna, there is no recovering for Trump. Biden was already, before this speech, trending up in the 538, both in the overall polling and the Electoral College. Already. Even with all the shit talk we've been hearing. Pod Save America, fucking rando, silent Dems, Mark Halperin, like serial sexual assaulters that now show up on right-wing shows who supposedly used to be Democrats. All that shit. With all that on the air, Morning Joe. The idea, the storyline that Obama was trying to talk him down, that was floated, which is all horseshit. Talk him down for like a week. The Clooney op-ed, all that. Think about that. All that shit, Biden's trending up. Now what? Somebody keeps asking me. But how are they going to compete if they got Matt Gaetz on their side? Yeah. Luke Beasley and Adam Mockler both stayed on track with President Biden. Good for them. As did yours truly. Unflinchingly and with glee and aplomb. Right? And man, there's a bunch of people, I gotta say, there's a bunch of people who are, they're trying to they flooded the tank and they flooded the engine and they're still trying to prime it and get it kick started again, and it ain't fucking happening. It is not happening. Don't gloat. You're adorable. But for the record, I'm not gloating. I'm fucking offended. Because I didn't come about these opinions accidentally. I consider myself deeply considerate of this stuff. I'm not just saying it to say it or to sell something. I really do believe it. It's why I'm more consistent, with my record of being right than other people. Because I'm not just saying stuff. That's how you end up wrong. Is you say stuff that just sounds like the trend of, the direction things are going. I don't know. This is the way things are going. Maybe if, right? Once you start hemming and hawing around that shit, you're not committed to paying attention, really. Anytime somebody says it's possible that maybe somebody has said around him and other people are mentioning that there might be a thing where that, you know what that is? That's you taking your hands off the reins. And if that's what you're doing, then shut the fuck up. You are a passenger in the wagon at that point. Stop talking like you're directing the horses. You ain't. Other than that, I have no opinion. I'm going to let you guys go because I have we're right on time, and I've got a show this afternoon, 3 o'clock. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/HalSparks. And thanks everybody for the super chats. Loretta says the RNC was a deluge of Trump's tricks and tramps. Carruthers says from New Mexico. Well, thanks very much. Visit visit a locked dementia ward and tell me if you can pick out a patient who acts like the orange vomit. 50% act like Trump. I agree. My mom worked in a mental institution. She's a nurse for a while, and there's a lot of similarities in the kind of like vibrant nuts that she had there, especially the aging ones. I'll have a chat with Rob Reiner next time you see him. I will. I'll give him a hug and tell him that he can fix everything by just giving me a part in his next movie. All will be well. And it should be a movie about a young upstart guy who is an actor and a comedian and stuff, but in an emergency decided he needed, for the greater mental health of the nation, to put on a YouTube show so that he could just talk people through the dark times, and he did it and became a hero for dozens. I think it's a good one. I'll right. Specifically. So there we go. And who else did I miss? Housewives. Keith Olbermann jumped on to drop President Biden. There are more people that are pissing me off this year that are Dem than Rep. Yeah, I understand that, Luis. And he's going to dial that back too. They're all going to. Doesn't matter. That's the thing about this fucking bandwagon. It's dead. And then happy 71st birthday to me. Oh, Greg, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Greg Edmond. Happy birthday to you. All right. And Nicholas, thank you for the super chat. And Michael, thank you so much. And I will see you guys later this afternoon. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else.